This is an oil tanker, and the thing to know about an oil tanker is that it's really, really big. 4 soccer fields long, carries 2 or 3 million barrels of oil, and it weighs more than a skyscraper, all of which makes it slow, 10 or 15 knots. That is, no joke, the speed of a bicycle. Our global energy supply lines move at the speed of a Schwinn, and let me show you on this globe why that's important. If you biked all day, how much of this globe do you think you could cross? Like, maybe the width of the point of this pen, right? Maybe, if you worked really hard. Okay, now imagine hopping on your 12-speed, starting in Dubai. Where's Dubai? Here we go. Starting in Dubai, and now imagine that you have to bike out of Dubai, all the way down here, down the coast of Africa, down, across the Cape of Good Hope, back up the other coast of Africa, all the way across the Atlantic, through the Caribbean, before finally arriving at the deepwater oil port in Louisiana. That would take forever on a bike, right? Which, remember, is the speed that these oil tankers go. Like, that is how our oil travels, as if it were on a bike. And maybe you see where I'm going with this. This is a map of global oil flows put together by JP Morgan. Don't worry about all this text, we'll explain it in a minute. These red lines show the oil coming out of the Middle East, going out to the rest of the world. This is the stuff that's been cut off. Here it is back in December before the war. There it goes, the oil is flowing. But remember, it moves at the speed of a bunch of bicycles. So now it's January, and the oil is just finally reaching parts of Asia and Europe. And we're into February before it hits the US, and then it hits refineries in South Korea that then sends it on down these pink lines to Australia and New Zealand. So when the war starts and the oil stops flowing, there's actually still a ton out there, taking its long, lazy little bike ride around the globe. That's a big part of why things seem weirdly normal. For most countries, the oil shutdown has not reached us yet. We're still getting shipments that were sent out before the war started. So when do those shipments stop? If you look at that map again, it says most deliveries to the US will stop around April 15th. In Europe, they stop around April 10th. Asia, April 1st, so it's just getting started. But here in parts of Africa, it was March 20th. We're already well into it. And that's even hitting places like the US, where we are still receiving oil from before the war started. Countries whose shipments ran out are creating this big surge in demand. So anytime you go to the pump or pay your power bill, you are bidding against them and they are bidding against you. And all of this is going to get significantly worse when China and Europe start running out of shipments too and surge demand to replace it, which is really close to happening.
Shalom, Israel. First and foremost, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah, Kodash, and a sincere salutations to the hopeful elect. Lord's willing, this lesson be edifying and straight to the point. I want to touch on this article from The Guardian, which I spoke on it at camp. So this is just somewhat of a recap, because this is a very important topic that's in the news right now, and especially pertaining to prophecy. So I'm going to do a recap, so to speak. So let's dive right into it. Uncertainty looms as last oil tanker from Middle East arrives in California. The average price of a gallon of gas in California already stands at more than $6. But more uncertainty looms as the last oil tanker from the Middle East arrives in the Golden State this week. And that's very important. And that's the reason why I attached the clip that you saw in the beginning, to show how important this petroleum or oil supply chain is, all right, to the economic system, and how easily it can be disrupted. The Los Angeles Times reported on Sunday that the new Corolla, which left the Middle East for California before the war broke out, okay, the war broke out officially on February the 28th, all right? So another indication of how long it actually takes, okay? That's months. What's that, like 3-4 months that it took this oil tanker to once it passed through the Strait of Hormuz to get to California? All right. So it says, which left the Middle East for California before the war broke out. is delivering about 2 million barrels of crude oil from Iraq to Long Beach. It was the last planned shipment to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. The California Energy Commission Vice Chairman Siva Ganda told legislators on Tuesday that the state can meet fuel demand for the next 6 weeks with its current supply. All right. And that's with their current supply. And right now, as you can see that the United States is tapping into its oil reserves. And that's why the national average here in Florida was about $4.44. And now it's around $3.80. I think that was the price the last me and the brother Karaya left camp and passed a gas station. All right. So that was a tremendous drop. All right. But that drop is just to pacify the people. OK, because they're tapping into the reserves, which are at an all-time low. And that's another lesson in it of itself. OK, so like the brother Karaya brought out at camp, it was a good point. He said that, when we were at the gas stations, a lot of gas stations were capping gas at $75 allowed. Okay, you only were allowed to put in $75 in your gas tanks. So if they were allowing people to fill their tanks up at will, like normal, okay, everything would have been through. Okay, the people would be and hurting worse than they are now. But what do they always do here in America, Babylon the Great? They put a Band-Aid on a shotgun wound, all right, so to speak. So it reads, California has the highest gas prices in the U.S. It imports about a third of its oil from the Gulf, and the state will now have to find new sources to replace it. Compared with other states, California imports significantly more of its oil supply from abroad. So that contradicts what your President DJ Trump always harps on. Oh, we don't need the Strait of Hormuz. We don't need, petroleum from that side of the world. We have our own. Okay. It says, while oil prices have risen in recent weeks, the current supply has not yet been severely affected as markets have continued to receive oil that was already in transit when the conflict began. Okay, you see? Already in transit. The war in Iran and the closing of the Strait of Hormuz has actually been buffered by the fact that all of these tankers were at sea at the time that the Strait of Hormuz closed. Michael Ross, a professor at the University of California, Los Angeles, told ABC. All right. So, like I said, we haven't over here in America began to feel the full effects, okay, of the Strait of Hormuz being closed and these oil tankers, okay, no longer coming in route, okay, the supply chain disruption. But all the experts are saying what? The end of June, July, okay, shit is really going to hit the fan, okay? So, matter of fact, let me grab something. Grab a precept real quick. This is 2nd Esdras 15, and I'll start at verse 26. It reads, For the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai knoweth all them that sin against him, and therefore delivereth he them unto death and destruction. Right. And this is why all these things are taking place. The collapse of this world economic system, okay, to bring about mass death, okay, which is judgment of the Heavenly Father, okay, for the pride of you people, all right, to make his name known in the world again, okay, to do all the things that he said he would do that is written in this holy book that you know as the Bible. Continuing on, it reads, "For now are the plagues come upon the whole earth, and ye shall remain in them." Right. Ye shall remain in them. All right. So everything that's taking place, it's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. And week by week, day by day, month by month, you people are witnessing it. Okay? You're coming to the conclusion that this shit is not going to get better. The Heavenly Father says the plagues are going to remain. The curses are going to remain on this world, on you people. Until what? Until America, Babylon the Great is utterly destroyed off the face of the map. So it reads, "For now are the plagues come upon the whole earth, and ye shall remain in them. For Yahweh shall not deliver you, because ye have sinned against him." So let's go back to the article. It reads, "So all of that supply has still been making its way to consumers. This is the last shipment of that supply that was keeping prices relatively stable. So that should worry us." Yeah, it should worry you people. It should worry. You should be very, very, very worried. All right? Because prices are going to skyrocket. Jobs are going to be lost. Okay? Oil, petroleum, it affects a lot of different things. Real quick. I mean, we touched on it at camp, but I'll read a little bit of this. It says, "The economic responsibilities of petroleum encompass its foundational role in driving global gross domestic product, GDP, generating millions of jobs and funding essential public infrastructures through taxation as a primary energy source and critical industrial feedstock. Petroleum underpins global transport, manufacturing, and production of countless everyday goods." All right? And, screenshot it. Take a look at it. It says global GDP and revenue. It says employment and income. The sector acts as a massive job creator beyond direct drilling and refining roles. It supports millions of indirect and induced jobs in supply chains, distributions, and local economies. Right. So this goes also into the prophecy that there will be no work for Egypt. Isaiah 19. Okay. So this is beautiful. All right. I continue to say this all the time, but we get to witness Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai work in real time, man. And it's beautiful. Okay. So let's go back to this article, and I'm going to wrap it up. It says, "The U.S.-Israeli war with Iran has significantly disrupted the global oil markets and driven up gas prices around the world. The American Automobile Association reported that the national average had reached $4.54 on Tuesday, while in California, the average price was $6.16. Prices are at their highest levels in nearly 4 years. All right. And I think that's pretty much the point. Okay. I don't want this lesson to be too long. So let me end it here. Let's end it in I was going to go with many miseries, but let's end it here. It says, 2nd Ezra 16 and starting at verse 37. "Behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack." Yes, they draw nigh and are not slack. "As when a woman with a child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son, With 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb, which pains when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment. Right. And these plagues and everything that's befallen the earth is not going to slack a moment. As you can see, they're only intensifying. Even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side. And that's what you're witnessing, the world mourning, the love of many waxing cold. Okay, things are starting to get a little crazy, man. A matter of fact, on the news today, they were talking about there were some multiple mass shootings. Okay, so hey, stay tuned, man. The Lord is he's getting busy, but you ain't seen nothing yet. Lord's willing, this was edifying. Shalom, Israel. Wa Abad Babal.